Okay. This is part 2 of the 3. So we're going to be halfway. Well, when I'm done, we'll be 66% of the way there. Sure. Okay. Last one was on my apartment. My first one I ever had. In spring. Well, I moved. For a while. And up there was some interesting stuff, but I thought I would do the ones that were like local apartments before I talk about the ones that are out of the area. That's how we're going to do this. So, anyway, as far as living in Roaring Spring, I had the first one I just did, and now there's this one. This one, what? Guess who's here? This one's going to be a little weird because there's a lot of covering on it. It's going to be a long video, so would you pull up a chair and crack open a cold one? Yeah, I'll get to the point. We first moved into this one, it was weird to begin with because it was in Roaring Spring, again, and we had a situation where the neighbors upstairs were moving out, and I get a phone call saying, hey, don't panic, there's a U-Haul in our postage stamp of a yard, and I'm not moving out. I'm like, okay, you're not moving out. And the neighbors upstairs are moving out. It's Randy telling me this. I'm like, alright, I'm driving home, whatever. Coming from work, and at this point, the U-Haul's gone. So at like 9:30 that night, it's dark out, and they come back. I figured they were grabbing a couple of odds and ends and leaving, right? Well, the steps going up to theirs might as well be a glorified fire escape, because it was like this wide. Like, that's it. Seriously, you put your elbow. If I walked up with something like like this, you would rack off the siding of it. It's all angle iron. So yeah, it was a glorified fire escape, painted in like this gray blue like railroad paint thing. Anyway, so they go in there, and we figure they're just finishing up. Well, you could see from where we were at, their porch light was on for the little stoop. I mean, it was really little. Okay, I mean, you could get 3 people up there and full house. So, on a fire escape, that is. Well, we heard this being drug across the ceiling, well, our ceiling air floor, and I'm like, it's vibrating my walls. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? I mean, seriously. And we see this mat, like the shadow of this mass thing, I don't know what it was yet, but it's drug out onto their thing, onto their, like, stoop. Okay, this is a refrigerator. It was an avocado 1970s government green, okay? The Brady Bunch, if you can envision that. I mean, not that big. Like a little 2-door, not these side jobbies, and like a little 2-door thing. Well, anyway, we heard this. The refrigerator landed in our front yard. And I'm like, did somebody get hurt? Then we get run over? Then somebody get plowed down the steps by a refrigerator? And I'm like, Randy, go out and see if someone died. And he walks out and looks, and they're like, he's like, is everything okay? And they're like, oh yeah, we're getting rid of it. We just threw it down the steps. I'm like, could you tell someone when you're doing that? We thought something bad had happened, and I didn't really want to use my CPR card. I was like, for real? Well, they said, oh, landlord's coming to get it. Apparently, it ruptured their refrigerant because it laid there for 3 days, and the landlords came and got it. That was fun to watch. And when they took it, whatever they did, that refrigerant left this big of a mark in my yard. It looked like my yard had a zit. Okay? So I had to, like, put Patch Perfect on it and rough it up a bit so it would grow again. Well, yeah, it was there for, I can't believe it just killed it off. Well, speaking of my front yard, we had this problem with birds. We had a big picture window. And these birds in the morning would come flying up, see themselves in the mirror, and think it was another bird, and go wham off of it. Well, I can't tell you how many birds we buried in our little, like, landscaping thing. That was our flower box that was, like, that deep of soil. It was messed up. Yeah, we kept burying birds. I bet we probably have gotten rid of about 6 or 7 house sparrows, and I think 1 dove died. Like, it hit, we weren't there to see the dove get hit because we walked up steps and turned, it apparently had already hit, and we found him, whatever, was on the concrete below with some bent ass feathers or something. It was like it couldn't get itself moving again, so we had to, like, I actually got a shovel out. I figured I'd have to, like, beat over the head and, put out its misery. Suddenly, those feathers straightened out and that mother took off. I was like, no! So that was that. But then, speaking of the front yard, we had this problem with the weeds. Well, I didn't know they were weeds. Well, I knew they were, like, something. They looked like really big parsley. And I'm like, wonder what these are. I'll just keep miracle growing, miracle growing, miracle growing. I miracle grow these things all summer long. Well, they never bloomed. I'm thinking maybe I'm just not letting them get a chance to do their little, you know, wee part. So I'm there watering and watering all summer long. And finally I asked a friend of mine, I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with these things. They're not blooming. I said, maybe I just have to let them kind of catch up finally. And she's like, well, bring a picture, get a picture and show me of what these things are doing, and I'll tell you what they're doing. I'm like, okay. I go in there and look. I'm like, here you go. What do you think of this? And she says to me, you've been feeding these Miracle-Gro all summer? I'm like, yippers, every week they get like a half a cup. She went, they're not flowers. I'm like, what are they? She goes, well, they're not going to bloom. I'm like, what are they? She went, weeds. I'm like, I've been feeding weeds, Miracle. They had stalks, and to pull them out of the ground, it's where there was huge, lush, like, weeds, and no flowers. Just live blooming, just green bloom. They didn't even bloom. There's no flowers. They never budded. So I was like, feeding weeds, Miracle-Gro. I should do that with dandelion, see what happens. I shudder with fear. So, that was that. Now, as far as my land, all that stuff's concerned, then we had a situation with lightning. I was outside putting up something. I want to say my puntings for the 4th of July. I think that's what I was doing. I'm on a chair, overextending myself. You know, OSHA would not approve. And I'm there like, and all of a sudden I heard a storm front coming through. And it's like, you know, and I'm like going, ooh, it's going to rain. You know, moisture from the heavens. And long story short, right before lightning struck, the hair on my arm stood up. And I'm thinking, get in the house. Off this chair, there's from, like, it looked like it belonged in the Cheers television studio set. Run inside of the bathroom, and it goes, boom! Walk outside, the telephone pole across from me was smoking. But I found out, basically, I was a conductor at the time, and if, you know, how am I going to get away from lightning? It goes how fast, seriously. I would, if it wouldn't have come after me, it would have, but I had that happen. And, what else? Let me think. I had lightning, did the weeds, the refrigerator, the birds. The neighbors I'll get to in a minute. That's going to take a second. What else is there? Oh, that's more neighbors. Oh, they had windows replaced for us. Well, they were getting old. Oh, we're going to put new windows in. Well, we waited and waited. They brought windows over. So guess what? We weren't home when they did it. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to say who it was. I'm not going to say who my landlord is. I'm not going to even tell you about who did it, but I will tell you this. I will never let this company ever put windows in my house. You want to talk about a slap-together job. I'm like, for real? In fact, there's parts of it where they ran out of caulking, and they never finished. I'm like, really? There's, like, caulking here, and you stop like that. There's places, there's caulking missing like this. In one place, the little boards that you have to pop loose to pull the window out, they're, like, busted. I'm like, no, this is just horrible professionalism. So, that was that. Let's see here. What else do I have a little cheat sheet here because I have so many things to go over. In the apartment, my living room, which is all earth tones, by the way, it was all earthy, all that fun stuff. Well, I had named my company over. Well, I was rolling back and forth on my computer chair, telling them stories about me. And the next day, the neighbor's like, what were you doing up there? And I went, I had guests over. She goes, were you rowing a canoe? And I'm like, no, I have a computer chair. She went, I swear you were rowing a canoe back and forth across. I'm like, no, just my computer chair. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. So, that was that little stunt. And then, oh, I get to bring in something cool here. See this thing? It's called a whip. It's 8 foot. Okay, I got it out in Ohio. See, it's a long one. Well, I decided to show people who didn't get clearances how this worked. Well, in the middle of showing them, the town cop, chief of police as it were, walks outside, and here I am throwing this whip around in my front yard. It's this big. And I'm like, he's going to say something to me. He goes, can you crack that? And I'm like, He goes, do it again. So I'm like, okay. Crack! Crack! I don't know anyone who can get an 8-foot lunge whip to crack the way I can. It's all in the wrist. That was really bad. Moving on. Oh, now I can move on to other parts. The neighbor, is that all I can give her? The neighbor stuff has to be all kept together here. The Peeping Tom, and now go to the neighbor stuff. The Peeping Tom was really weird. I kept hearing about this Peeping Tom in town. I'm like, okay, whatever. One night, the way our bedroom faces, it faces towards the mountain, towards the paper mill. And I seen this guy, like, walking over to this house that had, like, a garage kind of canopy, what do you call it, like a carport with that wavy fiberglass from the 70s. Again, the 70s. And he crawled up on it, and I short-circuited and went, oh, that's not Peeping Tom, he's gonna look at our windows. And there's, like, 3 houses down from me, but where I could see it, I could see the whole way down the block, like, the yards and from the one. I get my slingshot out. Yes, I have a slingshot. And I collected river rocks. Because they're earth tone. I pull back this thing. I can't hit the broadside of a barn if I tried. I pull back. I'm like, I'm never going to hit. Wait. I got to counteract it. Higher the rock, distance, it's got to arc. I pull back. It went, pew, thinking, what am I going to do? Hit, like, a tree or part of the house and maybe spook them. Right? No, I didn't spook them. I didn't hit the building. I didn't hit a car window. I didn't hit glass. I hit the guy back here on the shoulder blade. This rock, you know what, you let go. 2 o'clock in the morning, let go. And it goes, and it goes, and it goes. And I'm thinking, it didn't hit anything. All of a sudden, it made contact with his shoulder blade. He's up on half of a roof trying to climb up, and all of a sudden you hear this, he just starts running, sort of limping himself across the parking lot, screaming like somebody shot him. He probably thought he got shot. I bet I cracked that shoulder blade. I never heard about the Peeping Tom after that. I might have got him. I was like, he was just like running across the parking lot. I was like, wow, he really took off. So that was the Peeping Tom. Is that everything so far? I did that. Hang on. Did that. The fish tank. Okay. Upstairs neighbor now that had moved out. Well, somebody else moved in. It was vacant for like 4 months. The upstairs people kept rotating like crazy. I don't know what that was all about, but they kept in and out, in and out, in and out. Well, they're up there, and people I went to school with that I know were up there too. I won't name names, but they were up there. And to put it mildly, there was an argument. And it kept getting more and more, like, it kept building and building. I'm going, wow, they're, like, you can hear everything they're saying. And normally you can't hear much up there, but you can hear it and get louder. I could hear every word they were saying, and believe me, the tapestry of profanities that were coming out of them, it's still lingering over the place. But I hear this, you want your, something about money. I kept hearing something about $1.50 or $2.50 and cigarettes. And I'm like, okay, whatever, I don't care. I swear to you, all of a sudden, I heard this, and all I could think of was, oh my god, someone knocked over a fish tank, and I'm like, it's gonna come down my walls, and I'm like, whatever, and I'm just, it turned out it wasn't a fish tank. I even called the landlord and said, I think someone knocked over a fish tank upstairs. It turned out it was just a change bowl, and someone, when he hears your $1.50, and they flipped it, and all the money fell out, I swear to you, it was a fish tank getting toppled. They were weird people, too. And I don't understand. I was up here one time to see the place. And the stove up there, I would love to know how it got up there. Because that stove is enormous. Like, it's one of those great big jars. I think it's got 2 doors on it. Like, it's a big green thing. I don't know how they got it in there. They must have built the place. Like, as it was being built, they shipped in a stove. Because it's not coming out in one piece. It's probably still there, man, my luck. But that was that. I did the whip, the canoe.
Why are you rubbing your nose?
Because I had hair up there. My mom's gonna tell me about it. You had that in your nose. Oh, the ice balls. The guy beside us moved in. Real nice guy. Real easy going. Not a problem. Real, Well, Randy and I caught a bug. And I was, like, sick. Like, we're talking, I blew my cookies. Okay. Well, Randy got it the next day. I've never heard him blow chunks like this. I mean, I should have recorded. I was like, the noises he was, you'd think he was in labor. And he's like, just, the noises were coming out. I mean, it was, the vocalizations that he was working, yeah, it was interesting. Well, it was the middle of the night. So, of course, the guy the neighbor knew him from where he works at. And he said, boy, you guys okay there tonight? Someone's making all kinds of noises. And Randy goes, that was me. He goes, I'm really sorry. I didn't know it was that loud. He goes, no, you were sick. I get it. These things happen. But wow, was that loud? And I'm like, yeah, it was a loud one. Well, this guy comes over to me. And he goes, I was on my way to work. And he goes, can you do me a favor? I went, Yeah, what? And he goes, you come downstairs, I'm having a problem. I went, downstairs? He lives beside me. The washer and dryers are downstairs. I'm like, okay, sure, fine. So I go down, I hear this, boom, 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 and I'm like, what's going on? He goes, something happened to my dryer. I'm like, yeah, I'll say. I open it up. He ticked somebody off. Someone, it's in the middle of winter now, got balls of ice, don't know where they came from, put them in his dryer, turned it on, and the little plastic fins that were in there got busted off. I was like, wow! What enemy do you have that knows where your dryer's hanging out at? I was like, for real? So I had to deal with that. He felt horrible about it. But what are you going to do? Yes, I'm having a silence problem at the moment. Now, for more fun neighbor stuff, I had neighbors that were diagonal from me, and I didn't get their names for clearance reasons, so I'll just say that they were a young couple, they were really nice to talk to, and I got a kick out of talking to them. They loved me. I used to dazzle them with my wit and intellect. Never a dull moment. That's one thing I'll tell you. Me as your neighbor, never a dull moment. I always had something going on. So, they were up in their room doing what young people do when they get together. If you catch my drift. They were enjoying themselves. Well, he has allergies, apparently. And in the middle of the night, I woke up, and it was in the middle of summer, and all our windows are hanging open, and I heard it sounded like two tortoises going at it, this grunting noises. I was like, oh, I know what they're doing. And long story short, they apparently were in the middle of it, you know, rounding the bases, if you will. You know, 10 toes up, 10 toes down, if you catch my drift. And I had this, hey, shoo! I mean, it was loud. So I get my phone out and I text bless you to them. I was like, well, yeah, I want to be polite about it. I'm hearing him grunting away, and all of a sudden he pauses and goes, hey, shoo! And then he keeps going. I'm like, bless you. So, anyway, couldn't help myself. What else is there? The rock. I did the rock with that one. What's that say? I'm losing the car. Oh, yes, the neighbors down the road, or the street, rather. I'm not going to say who they were. I am tired of this. I can't get clearances because people are going to panic on me and go, you can't say my name, because everybody gets all self-conscious. Well, let's just put it this way. They actually are not from around here. They came from the ocean, the Pacific side of the country. I'll leave it at that. And they live down by the post office. They don't live here anymore. I think they moved. Not while I was there, but they drove multicolored cars because their car would be the regular factory color it came as, and then they would take parts off and prime it, and then paint another part of it. So these three, it was like a citrus bowl going down the road. You see all these different colors on one car. So they were interesting people, and yeah, that was weird. But I kind of ignored them because it was easier. Let me think what else. I think I have almost everything done. Well, the neighbor next door to me, after the guy moved out, some lady moved in. Really nice lady. I talked to her a good bit. She was really cool about stuff. What was fascinating about her was apparently she could hear me. And I was by myself a lot because Randy was on the road a lot. So I was by myself, and I was on the phone all the time. And she always said to me, I don't know what you do over there, but you're always laughing and carrying on, just whooping and hollering. I'm like, oh, we gotta go there and see what he's up to. He's always in a good mood over there. It's like, ee. I'm like, I don't know, I'm just me. So the one night, apparently I had a combination of too much Diet Dr. Pepper and pepperoni because I had an emissions problem. A lot of it, too, even I'll tell you. I was like, whew, I could give that paper mill a run for its money. Well, I didn't think anyone would hear me. I'm over there in my privacy of my own home. I'm just tooting away. Well, the next morning I go over, and there's a box of gas sacks trapped between my front door and my screen door. And I'm like, apparently that was a hint. I don't know how long the thing was there for, but yeah, I had that situation. So, okay, there's that. Let me think, what else do I have here? I did the weeds, I did the canoe, I did the cop. Well, not did the cop, talk about it. Did the gas, the ice balls, the neighbors. I mean, was anything about the neighbors was really weird. The one guy at the very end lived upstairs. He was very good, cool. Like, I didn't really talk to him, but he had a little keyboard. And he really didn't know how to play that well. But he loved to play, like nursery rhymes. And he was really into playing Ba Ba Black Sheep. He liked playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. He was really good at that one. I think he even improvised a few times, but I don't think he improvised. I think he hit a few wrong keys, but we'll say it was improvising. He used to play really simple stuff, and in the beginning, I don't think he even knew what that thing was in front of him called a keyboard, but then he finally got better at it, and he always would play it at the most weird times of day. He'd wait till high noon before he would start playing Ba Ba Black Sheep, and I'm like, really? But he would do that. I think what else he did. He was really quiet up there. In fact, I didn't think he lived up there. I thought he was just coming to go, but he actually was a really nice guy. But yet our yard definitely got some action with just the birds, the dead, refrigerator laying there. And that's one thing I will say. When Randy met me, I warned him, I have really weird stuff that happens around me. He goes, oh, okay. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, you're going to be in there in a couple kitty stores going to surface. If you're around me, you're going to be involved in a couple kitty stores. They're bound to happen. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. Well, guess what? In the course of all the years I've known him, there have been a few candy stores. He's like, how do these things come? He told me one day, he goes, I think you were born under a cloud. There's like a black cloud that follows you somewhere. I'm like, no, that's just me. All my glory. But yeah, living there, we had a refrigerator, we had birds dying, we kept burying them. We had lightning try to come after me. The neighbors were weird. There's some issues. I can't go into all that stuff because they know me, and and some of them I don't think like me that much, just because I'm me. So yeah, there's people who don't like me. Told you about the fish tank that was actually money dumping. When talked about the windows, the rock being hit, the Peeping Tom, more hair in the refrigerator. That was a big deal there too. Ice balls, the gas issue I had, what's that say? The weeds that I had to deal with, the canoe that was my chair, and the cop. That's the gist of them. I had a neighbor that was stealing electricity at one point from me. I wasn't too happy about that. They were just, and oh, here's one. When we moved out, I just remember this. We moved out of the place. We had to move not in the daytime, but we had to move the appliances out of the basement, our washer and dryer. Well, we put the U-Haul up against the building, because we got the biggest one they had, like the 32-footer, and it was barely off the sidewalk. And had 4 ways on. In fact, we killed the battery. It took so long to load stuff. In fact, we put the door up in the back and back it up so the awning was in the truck. It was real messed up. And after 8 hours of blinking with the 4 ways on, we killed the battery. I had to get my battery jump start thing, and I get it jump started. But we went to get the washer and dryer, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, I think it was. We were moving the washer and dryer up with a dolly appliance thing. No joke. Randy pushed on it, I pulled, and it slipped, and the washer basically went almost at him. Stuff that happens. It's like, really? But yeah, we had some interesting things happen down there. I mean, just the weird stuff that went on. And there's stuff that I can't talk about because people will get mad at me. So, but I'm going to keep it under a half hour. But that's pretty much this place we lived at before we got here. And the next video is probably going to be about Brockway Apartments, because we were up there. That was fun. But yeah, there's a few things. That was kind of short-lived because it wasn't, in the time we were in Brockway, it was amount of time we were at Sprang Street. So it's going to be a real quick video next. But this was the big one. So, but in the meantime, enjoy. And I should be, Jess, if you're watching this, I should have another singing video coming up. If I can talk Michelle into it again. I'm going to try to do it. I'll try. Honest, I will. But in the meantime, guys, see ya. Keep rocking. Peace out. Toodles. See ya.